How's it going, VC? John here from JB's Vinyl and Cassettes. Today, I am going to hop onto the thread that Chris Profi the Great has started, and that would be
Feed my vinyl addiction.
sounds like fun. Okay, so the rules for the Feed My Vinyl Addiction thread are this. 5 albums that I believe anyone in the VC, anyone that is addicted to vinyl, addicted to music, cassettes, all those things, should definitely have in their collection. Fair enough. So, first album, by far for me, is David Gilmour's On an Island. David Gilmour, obviously, of Pink Floyd fame. This album came out in 2006, and it is just a gem of an album, a gem. I don't know if you know, I forget his wife's name, but she does most of the lyrics, and obviously David does the music. I believe Richard Wright, this is the last album that Richard Wright was truly on, I believe, before he passed. Richard Wright from Pink Floyd as well. But this album is just beautiful. Castellarization, the first song, instrumental, and just beautiful. Emotion evoking, just a beautiful, beautiful track to start off with. The Blue and Take a Breath are both just beautiful, kind of, well, the Blue's more pretty and Take a Breath is more kind of like a deep chugging, but still earthy, beautiful. I don't know how to explain it. It's freaking Gilmour. My favorite song on here is a song called Pocket Full of Stones, and it is beautiful. A gorgeous song with a gorgeous solo. David Gilmour at quite possibly his best, or at least the top of his game. So definitely you should have David Gilmour's 2006 On an Island. Next. Okay, next up I'm going to show you an album from my favorite band of all time. It is a 3-piece from Scotland called Biffy Clyro. Biffy, B-I-F-F-Y, Clyro, C-L-Y-R-O. I think Simon Neil, the lead singer, is quite possibly one of the greatest songwriters of all time. He can sing, he produces amazing melodies, and the two brothers that play bass and drum and do all of the harmonies are so talented. So this is Biffy Clyro, and they came out with this album a couple years ago, and it's unplugged. It's actually the MTV Unplugged. And they grew up loving Nirvana, and the Unplugged was one of their favorites. They used to set up in their garage and make it look like that. So they did kind of an homage, if you were, to Nirvana with the setup and the style. Really cool. They do a Beach Boys, God Only Knows, a really cool cover that's taken off and become very popular. But I'm not going to get into Biffy Clyro too much because of the fact that I love them, and that's a whole other video series I could talk about their albums. But I would say a really nice entry would be something like this, because people like Unplugged. It's very, again, I think the word here would be earthy and down to earth and just beautiful. Some beautiful harmonies. Some of their best songs are on here, and some other new songs that I hadn't heard before. But anything by Biffy Clyro you should own. But this is a great place to start. Next. All right, I've talked about this guy before, and I feel like you have to own him, and if you own him, you should own this one right here. Chet Baker Sings. I really want to get the original copy. Similar, but it's like a green, and it's definitely, it's hard to find in nice condition for a decent price. But this album is gorgeous. His trumpet playing on this album is otherworldly. His voice is sultry, it's sexy, it's just perfect. Chet Baker is perfect on this album. He does some standards, he does some things that he's famous for. Time After Time, My Funny Valentine, one of the greatest renditions ever. That Old Feeling, again, a great one. It's Always You, his version, my goodness. His version has quickly become the version for me on a lot of the standards when Chet gets a hold of it, especially when he sings and plays trumpet. My favorite song on here is the song that introduced me to Chet, because I heard it once on Pandora on Miles Davis radio. And it's a song called The Thrill Is Gone. And it could quite possibly be the saddest breakup song. It's not The Thrill Is Gone, B.B. King blues style. No. This is a song about, like, it's just not the same. The thrill is gone. And the way he sings it, just, I could be happy as anything. Just so in love. And if he sings this song, I'm just barfing. Just so upset and sad for someone. Someone's going through what he's talking about. It is such a beautiful and sad song. So definitely, Chet Baker sings. Next. All right, this one right here is actually an homage to my grandmother. It's her favorite movie, one of my favorite movies, but it's my favorite soundtrack of all time, my favorite movie score of all time, written by my favorite composer of all time, John Barry, and that would be Somewhere in Time by John Barry from the movie with Christopher Reeves. If you've never seen the movie, it's a great, sappy love story that just tugs at the heartstrings. You got to be in the mood for it. It's not a comedy, but it's very beautifully done and super sad, all about love. A great movie if you want to just sit down and really get engulfed in a love story and probably break whomever you're with into a little bit of a cry fest. But yeah, so on MCA Records, Somewhere in Time is my go-to. If I don't feel well, if I can't sleep in the middle of the night, if I'm really sad about something, if I'm having a really hard time, there's always music that you go to, and one that I find myself coming back to time and time again is Somewhere in Time. And it's such a beautiful start to finish soundtrack. You got to check this thing out. So if you don't own it, own it. Next. Okay, fifth and final album. This one is super cool to me because to me it takes me back in time to a time when I was yet even conceived. This came out 1 year before I was born. This came out in 1975, and it is Tom Waits' Nighthawks at the Diner. To me, this is perfection in record making. It took me years, I didn't know till I read up on it, to know that this was a studio album because it's played like a live album. And what he did was he actually went into a large studio and brought people and had them drink and listen, and he does a lot of banter and jokes, and they responded. So when you listen to this, it sounds like a small club, and he was there playing for these people that night, but it isn't really, like, it actually happened, but it was studioed. So such a great album. I wish I was cool as Tom Waits in this era, smoking his cigarettes, talking with his voice like this, but somehow it still works, and singing like this too, and having just a really good sense of humor and tickling the ivories the right way. And just Tom Waits is just a masterful musician. But during this time on this album, you want to hear some good music, emotional weather report on a foggy night, warm beer and cold women, this album, you gotta own this. When I finally found an original copy of this, I was so excited. So those are my 5. I hope I have changed your world. And if I haven't, whatever. But hopefully some people at least will, get my back here and be like, oh, dude, I agree. That album's sick. That's great. Or you can make fun of me and be like, John doesn't know anything about music. Your pick sucked. Either way, doesn't matter to me. Until next time, please be blessed.